we're able to even come together in one platform and discuss different topics. So that's what RJ's Place is. Again, I'm RJ. It works out. And it's real talk, real lives, real change. I feel like we definitely have voices. We definitely have a lot to share with the world. And at the end of the day, you know, it's up to us to do this because we are still able.
Right.
But so I was just
to add in whatever capacity you can.
Yes,
right?
You know,
to you for letting the show go on, even though we're in crisis. That you know, we have conversations that need to be had, and Black people and young people, you know, we've been contributors since the beginning of time, since the beginning of the revolution. So I'm proud of you for keeping the show going.
You know, when you start talking about just the statement "I can't breathe," that's not that's what Nick Cannon's video was.
Wow.
And it's a whole, you know, this is, you know, the more things change, the more things remain the same.
Right.
You know, as a matter of fact, I was just sharing with my mother earlier, you know, not a lot of people know this, and I'm definitely got to do some research to make sure, but to my understanding, downtown Newark was the hub for businesses back in the 60s. And when the riots of the 60s came, you know, downtown Newark was definitely what was affected, you know, tremendously. You know, I've seen the growth and development. I've gone to schools downtown, so I see that. But when it comes to protesting and rioting now, and even just a sense of trying to figure out, you know, people trying to quote unquote live this American dream, we hear about protesters and we hear about rioters and we hear about the fact that rioters went to the same precinct that they went to in the 60s when the riots first started. So it's like, oh wow, the more things change, the more things remain the same. How dare people come from outside of our city? Newark is a very instrumental place, you know, and we there's a lot that people can learn from us, but only if they're willing to. So, you know, so here we go now, talking about COVID-19 and being a, you know, not you're forced to be a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah.
How do you explain to your children the effects of COVID-19, race relations in America? How do you do that? So
there's a such thing. I worked in early education for the greater part of the last 10 years, and there's a such thing called developmentally appropriate practice, right? It's called DAP. Okay. And a lot of people will talk about it as it relates to the growth and development of the child, whether it's physical, whether it's their brain, you know, what's developmentally appropriate for them to be learning, for them to be reading. And so as a parent, you know, I'm a new parent. So I have a 4-year-old, a 6-year-old, and an 8-year-old who are not biologically mine, but I'm raising them right now. And so as a parent, you have to figure out what's developmentally appropriate to explain to your children about not only COVID-19, but about race relations, about police brutality, and how much of this world you want to give them and in what dosage. And so we figured out, you know, the coronavirus was an easy lift. You know, here's a thing, here's a germ, it's making people sick. We need to stay in because. And here are the repercussions if we don't. However, I don't have a blueprint like that to teach boys, 3 young Black boys, about police brutality and race relations as it is in this country, as it is around the world, if I'm being honest, because there's no guide. Not only is there not a guide, but there's not even an algorithm, right? Like if you back in the day where you could say, listen, if you get pulled over by the police, keep your hands on the steering wheel, turn the car off, do not pose a threat, keep your voice down. And over the years and decades and decades and decades, and I'm gonna go a step further and say centennials, right? Like not been able to figure out what that algorithm is. And so for Black parents and Black community members and Black teachers and Black police officers, there's no algorithm for us to give our kids. There's no algorithm for us to give our siblings. I can't say, listen, RJ, if the police show up to RJ's place, keep the lights on, stand outside, keep your hands up. That's going to keep you safe. It's not true. Nope. And so the conversation that you have to have with your children now, the conversations that you have to have with your siblings, your peers, your colleagues, your friends, the conversations have to be survival conversations. I saw a video on the internet of a man teaching his son how to survive if and when he has a knee on his throat. At the beginning of the video, he said, "This is what I taught my son today." And so his son, he's on the ground. He said, "You got to go limp, make your body numb and try and breathe as much as you can. And, make sure you're saying that I can't breathe so that if someone is recording, it is on record that they knew that you couldn't breathe. And then let your body go flat, lay there and don't resist. Don't even put any tension in your neck." And it was unreal that we can't have a conversation that is even a calculated conversation. And these are the steps to stay alive when being accosted by a police officer. Step further, being accosted a police officer with hate in his heart, right? Because those are two different people, and I'm not jaded in thinking that they're not. Right. But the conversation is haphazard. It's like, I got to teach my son how to read, how to write. You got to teach your son how to treat women. You got to teach him how to be a business owner, how to be a go-getter, how to value education, how to have great morals, how to pick a woman. You got to teach your sons a lot of things, but I'm sure nobody woke up the day before we found out about Brother George Floyd and said, "I'm going to have to teach my son how to survive with a knee on his neck for 9 minutes."
Right.
So with all that being said, to come back to your question, there is no way to somebody come honey. My 16-year-old brother just popped in. There's no way to give your children the proper explanation of what's happening in our world, because we don't have a proper explanation. The language that you and I are going to use with each other is very much years on years and layers on layers of this thing being added to, so we're able to have a dialogue in a way that a 4, a 6, a 8, a 10, a 16, a 20-year-old cannot have, because they don't have the levels of years, that we know, that we experience. Like Rodney King was our lifetime. Mm-hmm. You understand what I'm saying? Like the North riots was our lifetime. Eric Garner, Emmett Till, these are people who lived in the world
in the past 100 years.
They lived in the world as we know it, and we've never been able to figure out what the proper algorithm is, right? Like if you say, this is a friend, here's how you determine a friend. Is this someone that you're close to? Yes, and you go this way. If it's no, you go that way. And if you go yes, do they treat you well? And then you say yes, and then you keep going down, and eventually you get to a place where there's a friend. Or you say, this is a friend. Do they treat you well? No. And then you stop, because that's not a friend. We don't have a particular place or space or algorithm to say, this is how you stay safe. This is how you stay alive. This is how you stay sane, right? Because being alive and safe don't necessarily mean that we're sane. We've suffered hundreds of years of trauma that when we see those lights flashing behind us and we hear those sirens going behind us, our central nervous system breaks down immediately. And for at least 2 seconds, 3 seconds, we are stuck.
And you know what? It doesn't even matter how old you are.
Listen, I am an upright, law-abiding citizen.
I am
a voter. I am a business owner.
Right.
I see sirens, hear sirens, see lights behind me, and 4 seconds, I'm like,
oh crap.
Right. I'm trying to figure out if I'm being pulled over first, after I get functions back, right, cognitively. Right. If I'm being pulled over, if I am being pulled over, who am I when I'm being pulled over? Because in my regular life, I'm very much no nonsense, these are the facts kind of person. Is me being who I am while being pulled over going to get me killed? So we got a different kind of plight. The Black American, we all, so shouts to Black people all over the world, because we've had tremendous troubles everywhere on this. But the Black American, we have a story that is very unique to us. We have a struggle that is very unique to us. And we have to start facing reality that we don't have the luxury of ignoring injustice to anyone. We
Anyone.
don't have the luxury, like some of our other people in the category of black and brown and minorities and people of color. Like I like when they throw that around, but really,
Mm-hmm. It's the same. Y'all treat us the same.
it's us being killed.
Right. It's us.
I'm not saying that Spanish people, Asian people, Indian people are not being killed. They're not being hunted.
No, they're not being hunted. And that's the thing. I remember, I kid you not, I remember this day. I don't know if you know where New Way Supermarket is. It's on Chancellor and Leslie. That is where...
Chancellor and Leslie. Okay, yep.
Right across the street from the new... right. So I kid you not, I was in either, I'm going to say 5th grade because I got to think about the uniform I had on. I had, you got kids, the school uniforms with sweatpants with no pockets. It's the gym uniform.
Yeah.
Sweatpants, no pockets, and a t-shirt. That's all I had on this day. I know I was there. I might have gotten, if I had to imagine what I got, and I kid you not, if I had to imagine what I got, I probably got a watermelon Arizona and a cosmic brownie. No, they didn't have cosmic brownies then, so it was a regular brownie. And I was choosing, but I know for a fact I was right there looking at the snacks, and I was choosing the snack that I was going to get. And an officer walks in, and he looks up and down every aisle. It was not late night because the store obviously was open, but it was still later. And I remember the words, he said, put that down, spread your legs. Now, mind you, like I said, I'm a 5th grader. I can't tell you how tall I was, but I know he was taller. He came into the store. I was looking for a snack to purchase, and then then he tells me, I have to listen to what he's saying because he's an officer of the law.
Yeah.
The store owner says to the cop, to the officer, don't worry about him. He's okay. He's a good guy. He's a good guy. And the officer's response still rocks me to my core to this day. He fits the profile. I'm in 5th grade. I'm in 5th grade. We're looking at 15 years later. We hear all these countless stories about, we hear so much in the arts, and that's what I like about the arts. The arts is what really gets you to really see what's going on. Because when it comes to poetry, especially, I don't need music to hear the message to hear the message within. That's why people say, well, you don't listen to hip hop, you don't listen to rap. Not really, no, because I can't hear the words. I was just having a conversation with somebody younger than me about we're talking about they was born in the 2000s. I don't think like them. No. They would, and then, what did I have to say? I said, honestly speaking, I respect you, and I understand, how you feel about certain things, but we have a duty to our people, to our own people. At the end of the day, there's a lot gonna happen. I'm watching a video right now. I'll probably be talking about it next time. But I'm watching a video called Black White, and I kid you not, I think I found it in a gas station. Literally, it was just, I was like, oh, that looks, that's exactly what happened. I was coming from Maryland, and I saw it in the gas station, and the video is basically they take a white family, or they take a Caucasian family, and they take an African-American family, and they reverse them, and they live in one house. Now, mind you, I just started watching it, and they've already started the conversation. And mind you, from what I hear so far, they're already in the room. So the white family now, and it's not blackface, like they literally went through the makeup and airbrush, like they really, they fit their part. Right. And they legit are trying to hear the conversation amongst Black people to get a better understanding. What do you have to say to the average to the average family, who, like you said, there's no algorithm to teach, our young Black men what to do. But at the end of the day, it's not even about Black men now. It's about Black people. We are under attack as a people. We are, we are living, we're trying to be perfect, ideal citizens. But if a 5th grader can't go to the store to pick up something, if a teenager can't walk down the street with a hoodie on, if you can't even go for a jog in your own neighborhood because they don't feel safe, what do you make it seem as if I had a choice to begin with. You brought me here, we built your company and your business, and now you're trying to get rid of me. Have I, now that we've set the, that's something that we've talked about a lot as well. AI technology and robots and such, You use up everybody. What you were going to college? Everybody. When I was in high school, I was always taught you need to go to school, and then sooner or later you'll be able to replace the people that have those jobs, that have been having those jobs for a while. But now all you see is our people of color getting those mediocre jobs because we don't even qualify. Our education background doesn't qualify us for these jobs. Our makeup doesn't qualify us for the jobs, and now they're depending on us to be the essential workers. They're putting us in harm's way so that way they can live on their yachts and they can go, can go self-quarantine in the mountains where they feel safe. Yep. While the city, crumbles. But this gives me a whole new look at Stevie Wonder's Village Ghetto Land.
Yep.
So, yep. Where do you even go from here? Like, honestly, like, what? One thing I was on the phone with, I was watching a live feed with Lawrence Ham and Assemblyman Charles Barron, and they were talking to me. Well, rather, they were talking to us all who were listening about the fact that Martin marched, Dr. King marched. Malcolm X, by any means necessary. Rosa said, like, there have been small, civilly disobedient in America's history, but yet and still, the Negro is still not free. Yet and still, the Negro is miseducated. Yet and still, there is so much going on. And what do we do as a culture, as a color? I mean, it's not because it's color, yes, but what do you do? Like, at what point do we stop marching and do something? But I mean, and that's not even say violent. Like, what is the next step? Because that's one thing that you talked about.
So, you said a lot, so I'm just trying to put all this together. So I'll start with the last thing you said and go backwards. Mm-hmm. So in terms of, Martin marched, and he had the Montgomery bus boycotts, and Rosa sat, and Harriet led us to freedom, and we talk about all that's happened in lead up to where we are now, right? Like, we can't negate what's happened because it allowed us the freedoms, even if those freedoms are just between us in terms of Black people. It allowed us the freedoms and the creativity to really take this thing a step further. So when we have movements like Black Lives Matter, we see Martin and Malcolm and Rosa and Clara and Muhammad. Like, we see all of those people in these movements, right? So when we talk about what we need to do moving forward, I am, I said before and I'll say it again, the people who built something without consult should not be talked to about destruction when you didn't talk to us about construction. Nobody said, hey, do you think we should do this? Do you think you should work for free? Do you think we should whoop you while you're doing it? Do you think we should rape your women and still like, nobody consulted with us for the construction of America, right? No one consulted with us with the genocide of our people. No one consulted with us. So now it's like, we got to get them to stop burning down the Target, because God forbid Karen can't go to Target. I don't want to get off topic because that's a whole nother conversation. But I want to say, going forward, I think it's an obligation of our community to start thinking about and to start putting our money where our mouths are, and when we talk about self-sufficiency for the Black family, right? So we talk about how we take care of ourselves, and then I want to go back and tie this into COVID-19 and this shelter-in-place order, that we didn't know from day to day whether or not this curfew, being by 8, can't go out before 5 or 6, whatever it was. We didn't know how long that was going to last. We didn't know that whether or not that was going to turn into a you can't go out under any circumstances kind of thing. And we were told to prepare for it, right? Like they said, get enough food in your house for 2 weeks because you may not be able to go outside, right? And then what did we do? Not just the Black people, but America. We flooded the supermarkets, we flooded the farmers markets, we flooded the Targets, the Walmarts. Everybody bought out everything.
Everything. Toilet paper.
That is a sign of a people who are not prepared. Because at any given moment, we should say, we can't go to Walmart, Target, the corner store, the grocery store. What are we going to do? Then RJ, you should have a garden behind your restaurant.
Right.
I have a school in my house.
Right.
And somebody else, collectively, we should have a bank. And then this person should be, leading our investment circle. So when we talk about people of color and things that we need to do moving forward, we need to be armed. We have to really come to terms with this idea of like, we ain't gonna get what we need to get when we're asking for it. We may not get what we need to get when we're taking it, but we can create for ourselves what it is that we want to see and who it is that we want to be. So, I'm not saying by any means that what's going on is not necessary, because no revolution has ever started with peace. And I tell we talked about this briefly last night. Every revolution has started with chaos. It started with madness. And, I don't take too kindly to the term civil disobedience. Disobedience and obedience is for animals.
Okay.
Obedience is not for humans that you don't know, right? Like, obedience is for your children, sure.
Right.
In some circles, depending on what you believe in fundamentally or religiously, it may pertain to your partner, right? But civil disobedience is not a thing. You don't have the right to tell me what to do. And if I do other than what you told me, you don't have the right to call me disobedient. I'm not your pet, I'm not your wife, and I'm damn sure not your child.
Right.
Talk about, like, we need to be realistic and we need to get very clear about who we are to this person. America and the Negro, or if you will, America African American, America and the Black American, America and Black people, we don't have a good track record here.
Right.
It has very much been an abusive relationship from day one, day zero. Before they got us over here, we we come from, I say this a lot, we come from a foundation, we come from a background, we come from a bloodline of a lot of things. We heard growing up, we came from royalty, we come from, we know that the Black woman is the mother of civilization, right?
Right.
but if we taking a stone cold hard look at the plight of the African American, the plight of the Black American, our journey and our story has been nothing but slavery and oppression, right? Like, I'm not talking about our bloodline. I know our roots run deep, but we don't know nothing about those roots because we've been disconnected. We've been taken away from the sun. We've been taken away from our families. We've been taken away from our culture. And you know what? It sounds a lot like your steady in place order, your hold in place order. Nope, stay away from your grandmother. She old, you might get her sick. Nope. Stay away from your friends. You might get each other sick. Nope. Stay from outside because you might get sick. The Black American, we've been disconnected so many times in our span here that we don't even know what connection is. Now, what is that? We don't know because we've spent more time disconnected than we spent connected. And then when we start to build communities, I'm from Newark, New Jersey, and I say day in and day out, I've been across the country, I've been across the globe, and I will say to anybody who's willing to listen that I live in if not the greatest cities in the world, the most progressive cities in the world, the most creative cities in the world, as it is today. My mother, who was born in the 50s, didn't live in the North that I live in. Right. She lived in a different type of environment here. So I'm proud of the progress that we've made over the years, but we got to get real about the relationship that we got with this country. And if you know someone who's been married for 30 years, right? And, he came home every day after work and kicked her, and he kissed the dog and kicked your wife, and then, beat her every now and again, or maybe she beat him. I ain't a misogynist. Maybe it's the other way around. After 30 years of getting whooped every day, one might come to the conclusion that I'm probably just going to get whooped every day if I don't leave this, right? And so we have this fear of the unknown,
right?
And so we don't know what's going to happen if we stop working for the state. I got state benefits. Maybe I got a pension. That pension ain't gonna be here when you retire anyway.
It ain't. It's not.
Look on the bottom of them Social Security statements. See what they say by 2036 that we don't know what's going to happen. So you are holding a standard for a place that will replace you, whether it's your job. I worked on the same job for a long time before I decided to start my own business. And I tell anybody who willing to listen, look, make your money, pay your bills, feel secure, feel like you can take care of your family, but also make choices that's going to impact where you end up in the future.
Right.
So, we're afraid of, well, what if I quit my job and start that business? Or what if I, break rank for a police officer? What if I break rank from these rogue officers and these brutal officers and these animals and these savages? Does that mean my job? Does it mean the health and safety, wellness of my family? Like, everyone is afraid of something that they don't know.
Right.
Meanwhile, I'm more afraid of what I do know. I already know what it's hitting for. We talking about every other month we hearing say my name, Sandra Bland. Say my name, Eric Gardner. Say my name, Trayvon Martin. Say my name, George Floyd. Say my name, Emmett Till. How many damn names do we need to say before we realize this is a pattern? These people are violent. Don't talk to me about riots and protests. You people are violent.
Somebody said that. Somebody said, you see police at protests, but not at KKK rallies because they're the same people and they're wearing masks. So now we've got our own masks. COVID-19 gave us our masks. So now you can't see who, but we still know who we are.
I know if you black or not. I know I looked at a video and it was let me go back. So I went to New Orleans a gang of times after Hurricane Katrina. The first one being the first year after Katrina hit. It was that August, I believe, and I went to New Orleans in January. And just the systemic racism that existed, during that time of natural disaster, not something else. There wasn't police brutality. It wasn't, anything like that. It was very much a natural disaster, and we saw redlining still. We saw, education discrimination still. We saw the media still, and so that's why I want to go with this. So we talked about the media. So when I was in New Orleans, and then when I came home, I read all of these articles and all of these posts. In fact, when I was gone, oh hey Cheetah, I didn't know you were here. That's my niece, 13, but in my mind she's 8.
Right.
So we read these articles, and people were sending me news clips when I was in New Orleans via email, and was like, it was like looting, people in the lower ninth, looting the Home Depot and looting the Walmart and looting the corner stores and looting the this, that, and the other thing. And then you see another article, and there's some Caucasians running about the Target and the Walmart with some television. They said they were surviving during this natural disaster. And so the narrative that the media put on this was very much different for Black people and white people. And so I say that during this crisis that the country is in, that the state of the Black is in here in the United States and all over the world today, there was a protest that turned into a riot. Meanwhile, we already know who was exciting those types of things. And the rioters were driving out of a Honda dealership, a car dealership. I don't know if it was Honda, but they were driving out of the car dealership with the cars that was on the lot, like not on the lot, inside of the space, the garage. And so they drove through the glass, bust through the glass, started driving down the street, bust a couple donuts, and that was that on that. But anyway, I couldn't help but pay attention, even with gloves and protective masks on, that there were not Black people in that crowd. Those were not Black people who took those cars. Those were not Black people who were in the crowd cheering them on. So this is not anger, riots, protests, looting or surviving, depending on what type of spin you want to put on it, is not mutually exclusive to Black people. Right. That's the that the media has created for us. You know, we see all of these riots happening across the country, but there are plenty of peaceful protests. Again, I live in the greatest city in the world, and we had a peaceful protest here.
We sure enough did.
Was that on your television screen?
Oh, not at all. Oh my, they were doing electric slide in Border Market.
we don't have the luxury of sitting back waiting for another say my name.
Right.
Unfortunately. Because, well, fortunately, we don't have the luxury. But unfortunately, if we sit back and continue to wait for the next say my name, the next say my name could be RJ. The next say my name the next say my name could be anybody that we know and love, anybody who is, you know, we don't know what exists within people. And so we have the, you know, I don't want to say the burden. We have the pleasure and we have the obligation and we have the right to protect our people. We have the right to protect our children by any need, by any means, by any way possible. If that means we need to do X, Y, and Z as it relates to being self-sufficient, then that just means that that's what we need to do. And as far as what we're seeing on the media with you know, Targets and whatnot being burned to the ground and glass being bust out and looting of the Nike store and the Gucci store, I don't care about that.
Right.
I don't care about none of that.
Because I mean, that's not the conversation.
All of those things are a distraction from what we are facing. You cannot put images on television, on the internet, and say, Black people are wild, they're looting, they're hurting, they're doing X, Y, and Z. Well, ain't nothing for nothing, baby. So come on ahead and tell us why they're doing these things. Right. You know, come on ahead, come forward, because when you address the why, then the rest of it makes sense. Right. You can't just pull up to a building and say, this building is on fire. The first thing the fire department is going to ask is what happened? Why is this building on fire? Were there accelerants used? Was this arson? You can't just show up to a building and say, the building is on fire, and that's the end of the story. Because it's something that happened before that, and certainly there will be something that happens after that. And we're just in the thick of it. We're in the phase of this revolution. And it's not necessarily a Black revolution. It's an equity revolution. It's a revolution of people. You know, and I hate when people use the term people of color when we're talking about Brother George Floyd, because George Floyd was a Black man. George Floyd wasn't no Asian American. George Floyd wasn't no Native American. George Floyd wasn't no Puerto Rican, no Dominican, no Ecuadorian, no El Salvadorian, no African. He wasn't no Jamaican. He wasn't no St. Lucian. He wasn't no Haitian. He was a Black American. So with people of color, and let's start calling a spade, they killed the Black man. Because people of color is this like beautiful, inclusive thing. You know, is the thing that is what the Asian Americans like to say. If you went to, you know, school where, you know, I went to school, Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, and Black people. I went to high school on the north side of North. It wasn't nothing but Hispanics and Blacks, right? And throw this thing around these people of color, Black and brown people. I ain't seen one say my name that say, I don't even want to be stereotypical and start naming these names. One say my name of Hispanic people, or one say my name of an Asian person, one say my name. You know what I'm saying? It's like we we're not stupid.
We're not
Stupid. We are very smart people. We're creative people. We're calculated people, and we're moving in the direction in which we need to be moving. And if you don't particularly like the way it's going, here's one piece of advice for you. If you don't like what you're seeing, change it.
Right.
If you don't like what you're seeing on TV, turn the TV off.
Right. Start your own channel.
Karen, if you enjoy going to the Target and you like it to be standing because they have that lovely Starbucks in the lobby, then stop being an asshole saying you're calling the police on people who are not doing anything wrong. You weaponize my skin, and then you expect for me not to weaponize yours. We not the people with a history of violence. They have a history of violence, manipulation, genocide, rape, murder, oppression, systemic racism. Black people do not have a history of that. That is not our genetic makeup.
That's not our thing.
Of the sun. We are people of God. We are people of community. We are people of creation.
Exactly.
We are people, like, you can name every good adjective you can find, and I can tell you that Black people are people of that. Now, if you want to talk about people of violence, people of hatred, people of animosity, and I'm not saying that white people are those people, you know, by general, but I'm just saying y'all ain't really proved me wrong yet.
That's the problem, and that's the problem.
And I'm not willing to jeopardize my life. I'm not willing to jeopardize the lives of the people who I love by being jaded and being naive. That you, sir, who pulled me over on this day is not like the rest. I don't have that luxury of giving you the benefit of the doubt because it could mean my life. And then you're going to say my name, Constance Edward. Don't say my name.
Because I'm living.
Don't say my name.
I get it.
Because we are now, let me tell you what we are, because now I'm getting angry. And then I'm stop after I say this, because I might say something that's going to jeopardize myself. We are now in a place where Black people are saying, if something happens to my kids, if something happens to my mom, if something happens to my brothers, if something happens to my cousins, my nephews, my friends, I'm sending they ass company.
Wow. Whoa.
We're there. This is where we are.
Right. You know, I mean, oof.
We about to have a whole cocktail party around here. Ding dong, the next guest is here. We don't come from that. But Malcolm X said, Brother Malcolm said, we speak peace and love.
Right.
But if you want to speak something else, we talk that language too.
What did my teacher, sixth grade, my teacher called it code switching. I know how to respond to my environment.
Baby, I stopped code switching so long ago. To be quite honest with you, when I left my job, I decided,
not again.
I'm smart. First, I'm smart. I can articulate a thought. I can have a conversation.
Without profanity.
And I can still do like that when I'm done.
Real quick, like what's good?
I can say what I need to say and get my point across, and I can still say period. So code switching ain't a thing for us. We tried code switching and it ain't work.
It ain't work.
Got us say my name. I ain't doing it.
It's the truth. It is the truth. Oh my goodness, that's just. I kid you not. So I'm looking up now, and it just popped up. So now I have to show you this piece from. Okay, so you see.
I love this one to your left with the green border. To your right, yeah.
So yes, so this is one painting. I don't know the names of them. I'm not gonna lie, but so thank you. So it's funny though. It's funny you should mention that because let's just we're gonna relax with RJ's place real quick. So back in 2017, for those of you for those who don't know, I had my first all white affair, and it was downtown at LaRouche. and I got this amazing artist to do live painting, and it was Suleiman Ankwe. So Suli actually did this one. Well, Suli did both of them. You like this one, but
I couldn't even see that one behind you. I love that. I love that.
You know, like Suli's deep. It's real deep. I like it. I'm actually working on a few projects with him. But he did for my live painting, for my party. You know, this is the infamous RJ's place.
Right.
And there's RJ right there. You know, I've been inspired. But one thing with everything that we've been talking about, I really enjoyed this one because this really shows exactly what we've been talking about. This is us. I am stolen.
Yep.
You know, we can say we want peace in the streets, but at the end of the day, you know, how are people responding to our peace if we're not getting if we're not getting what we need to accomplish done? Like, all right, I get it, but what do we do now? Like, so it's gonna be a cold day in hell before we say my name.
You start with yourself, your family, then your community. And we teach each other how to be self-sufficient. We teach each other the things that we need to know in order to survive on our own. Because the problem with a lot of our communities that we're not self-sufficient because we have not had the luxury to be. We've not been afforded the opportunities of having, you know, financial literacy as a 10th grader and then graduating with a decent credit score and then getting your first credit card and then going to college and then I'm going to go back to
No, I like this. Go ahead.
Something you mentioned earlier about jobs and how we don't qualify for a lot because, you know, they require that you have this thing or that thing and you go to college and you get the good job and then you replace people at the top. And that's one thing that I've been preaching about education for the longest time. I know that a lot of people, not just outside of our community, but a lot of people in our communities, you know, they have a bad taste in their mouths about education. You know, you spend so much money, spent $100,000 to get a college degree, and now you can't even get a job. Or you spent $100,000 to get a college degree, and you know, just to work for a white man. Or you spent $100,000 to get a college degree in X, Y, and Z. Right? Like fill in the blank, whatever you've heard about education. But one thing that I always stood on my soapbox about, and what I firmly believe is that education doesn't make you smart, right? Like your space, your environment, and your teachings make you smart. Education makes you qualified. So you and I could probably apply for the same job, and one of us will get it over the other one because of our qualifications. I get the job, you don't, because I have a couple of master's degrees and a doctorate, right? I don't have a couple of master's degrees and a doctorate.
Hey.
But if I did, I have a couple of master's degrees and a doctorate, and you don't. You maybe got a high school diploma, maybe even you got a bachelor's degree. Education is about qualifying, because when you don't qualify, you can't even compete. There's no need for you to apply for a job that says master's degree required. I do have a master's degree. But if I didn't, I couldn't apply for a job that said master's degree required, because they're going to look at my resume and see that I don't have a master's degree and you're not even in the running. So education doesn't make you smart, it makes you qualified. And a lot of people from our spaces is like, well, if you want to be a business owner, you don't need it. No, you don't. You absolutely don't. But you might need a job. I'm a business owner and I worked.
Right.
I've been since I was 16. You have to qualify. So when you qualify, let me tell you this, when you qualify and you don't get a job over a Caucasian, or a lot of times a Hispanic or Indian or Asian, then you can say, I qualified for that job and you didn't give it to me, I want answers. But when you don't qualify for a job and you don't get the job over these people, you got to keep your mouth shut.
Right.
I'm in the business of qualifying for things. Whether I never use my degrees again a day in my life, it don't matter, because I got them and I'm qualified. So when we talk about our communities, we have to really start pivoting and changing the narrative around education. Education don't necessarily just mean a college degree. It can mean a trade. It can mean, I wish I had got a trade when I was in high school. I wish. You know who did? our more affluent peers. You know what the race of our more affluent peers are? More likely than not, they're not Black.
They're definitely not Black.
So we have an obligation to ourselves, our families, our communities to become more self-sufficient, to become more aware. That way, when this rogue ass government start giving out $1,200,
right,
we could be like, I mean, I'll take it, but I don't need it.
Okay, so boom, right there.
We need it.
But it's funny you should say that.
Not need it.
No, that's funny. So a lot of people, that's one thing that I definitely, I had a little bit to say about that too, because I was one of those people like, okay, who are they giving the money to? Who are they, who are they giving the money to? How are they qualifying? Okay, I got to file my taxes. So there were some people who ain't filed taxes in years and wondering, well, where's my check? I'm like, hold up. So wait, let's talk about it. So you do know that when they figured out who would get the money, who would get the, the checks or whatever, they would be looking into who filed their taxes, see who's still around. Like, how does this make any sense? So, I mean, I kind of agree with it. The 18, either filed 2018, 2019. But then I was able to look at two things in the same week. I was able to look at the stimulus check, and then I was able to look at my tax refund.
Mm-hmm.
Because they came the exact same week. And I was like, okay, I like that stimulus check, and yes, I can. I'm all right. I know what I'm doing. I'm going to invest this money so that way, when it comes time for y'all to say, oh well, we need our money back, because that's all it is. The tax refund if nobody else do this, I tell you right now, tax refund is you getting an advance on your tax for next year. Don't think you get nothing next year. If you were supposed to get $1,300 next year, I promise you that you're gonna get a check for $100. No, I don't even make a promise on $100, but you're not gonna get more than $100 because you already got your 12. So, that was the way that they got everybody to fill into this idea. But I said, my refund check, I worked hard all year round, and my refund check was more than my stimulus check. Hold up, let's talk about it. When you find out people in your community, they don't know they're not opening their own business. They don't have their own businesses. Businesses are being shut down right now.
We don't know how.
Right. And nobody's teaching us. Everybody says, oh, you should. When I was in high school, I was in 11th, 12th grade. And it's funny you should say trade school, because when I was in 11th, 12th grade, I had first of all, no, before I even got into high school, I didn't know what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. I just knew I wanted to major in business. I had different names. And I was like, oh, I'm going to be this. I'm going to be known as that. I'm going to be known as this. And I'm like, all right, cool. But when I got to high school, I was like, oh, I'm majoring in business. What Black men don't want a business?
Right.
You good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. So, so I got to college, and what did I do? I majored in business management. Now, I got to business management. I'm like, I don't like these courses. These courses I'm falling asleep in class. This is boring to me. What am I? Okay, so maybe I don't. And then I realized, wait a second. Just because I want to open my own business doesn't mean I need to major in business. There are some classes you should take. I get that, but I don't need to take 4 years of class. I didn't even graduate from college, and I still have so many student loans.
Yep. Because whether you finish or not, you owe money, baby. So
and they want their money. They sure enough want their money. Now, mind you, after college, I transferred to colleges, and then I even changed and that's what it is. I even changed my major. I went from a business major to a psychology major. Now my eyes are open because I'm learning how you think.
Yeah.
I'm learning what you think about and how you make those different, those different choices, life choices. Mm-hmm. Okay, I can get with this. This is how we build a community. This is how we grow. This is how we do things. I'm really excited about that. Mm-hmm. So it's like, wow, I changed my major, and it opened a world of possibilities to me. Mm-hmm. So, but what do you do for the person? What do you do for the average Black male, or the average African American student who doesn't have access to now? We talk about education disparities and things of that nature. That's really, really interesting. The little pillow moving behind you kind of caught me off guard. Oh, it's a balloon. Was like,
that's funny.
Is there an advertisement coming? Okay, let me know.
Right.
No. I was distracted. But you have these conversations, and you say, wow, I thought I had to do this to do that, and then to come to find out, I just need to have an idea that I stuck with. I need to have a dream that I stuck with and work for myself.
Listen,
you know.
They have a such degree. I'm about to tell you right now. They have a such degree, and at most schools, at some schools it may be called something different, but they have a degree in what is called liberal arts.
Yes.
Now, liberal arts essentially means that you've matriculated here, meaning you've attended this university, this higher education university or college, and you completed a certain amount of credits, but you don't have no particular field that you are an expert in.
Just basic information.
But you have the degree. And with a liberal arts degree, you still qualify for every job that says college degree required. Now, they might say some specific degrees are required, but you still quite so wild that this, and
it's only 2 years.
These requirements for jobs have always been a way to exclude us. Because 20 years ago, people of color, specifically Black people, we couldn't afford college for real because we weren't even eligible for a lot of funding that we are eligible for now and has come in the past 15 years or so. But we really couldn't afford it. You have parents or a parent who is making ends meet, who's paying bills, who needs to get food on the table, and your education was another expense. And they knew that.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Nasty America knew that.
Oh,
and
yeah.
That's when you started seeing on job position descriptions, degree required. Associate's degrees at that time, associates was popping. Associate's degree required, but a bachelor's degree is preferred.
Right.
You know that people from inner cities and people from low income areas and people who live in densely populated areas could not afford to get a degree in no shape, way, or form. So it was a discrimination tactic. But now you got more Black people going to college than ever before. And now we need a new tactic, baby. We need a new requirement. I read one time on the website for I want to say it was something with cerebral palsy. I can't remember the time of year it was, but it was around the Special Olympics, and it was saying how jobs, you may have a desk job, and the requirement for that desk job is all of the requirements, and then even still at the bottom it say you must be able to lift 30 pounds.
Right.
And you are thinking, what the heck?
What's 30 pounds?
Entry. I'm never going to have to lift 30 pounds ever. In fact, I was on my last job for almost 10 years, and I can't tell you the amount of times I lift something that was over the height, the weight of my computer.
Right.
So that's a way to discriminate against those who are physically disabled or handicapped. But we need a new tactic to discriminate against you people. By you people, I mean you Black man in America, right? Like we need something else. And if applications ain't gonna get it by saying must have a college degree, then let's start adding some other wild stuff. Like let's start saying like you have to live within 10 miles of the job. I seen that on on a position description that you had lived within 10 miles of that job. It wasn't an emergency position. It wasn't a first responder position. That would have made sense to me. It was a position that you use your brain for. Why do I need to live 10 miles within here? Well, because it was Ocean County. And we already know the demographic of folk who live in Ocean County. So it's every day to exclude us. And we are here. We're not going anyplace. What I will say, and I said to my brother a gang of times, and I said to you last night, Black folk, that's what we call each other.
Yeah.
Stop begging for a seat at a table that you built. Go build another one.
And that's where we need.
God ain't break the mold when he made tables. Table?
That's what.
Listen, the table ain't even important. It's who's at the table that's important. So quite frankly, our table could be a floor. Our table could be a restaurant booth. Our table could be whatever it is because we are the value, not the actual table. But the people who stole the table from us think that is value in the table, and there's never been value in the table.
The table doesn't matter. We are, and that's where we are with everything. And I honestly, I believe that, when you look at different people, you look at different sources of information. So you have religion, you have church. For years I was taught, going to church is important, going to church, and then all of a sudden I was taught, well, I am the church. We are what we need to survive. We need to be united. We need to be as one. We cannot let violence dictate, how we live and how we act, because that gets us out of character, which means gets us out of sync.
Right.
We are not aligned with each other. We are not aligned with ourselves at points in time. And there are so many different distractions. There is so much going on here, and we can't afford to let another distraction disturb us from our course of action. Matter of fact, that's actually a quote I had. I wanted to, now I can't find it. That's just great. But that's one of the statements I had on the wall at the restaurant. We have a lot of, there we go. We have a lot going on in our neighborhoods and going on in our communities. But in order for us to really have influence real change, that change has to happen within. And here we go. All right. Scrolling. I apologize. Hopefully I can edit this out.
It's fine if you.
But yeah, so here we go. One of the quotes I had on the wall was, remembering the hard times of those who came before you, dreaming of the mission ahead with thoughts of your role as a leader in your community, always thinking of the obligations of your family and their dreams before your own, envisioning the future of your people with thoughts of your course of action to make their dreams a reality. Yes, we can, by any means necessary, have a dream that we will one day have. We had, we had Dr. King and Mrs. King representing peace. We had Bob Marley and Harriet Tubman representing love. We had Barack Obama and Michelle Obama representing power. We had Nelson Mandela and Madam C.J. Walker representing peace, love, power, dignity. And we had Malcolm X and Betty Shabazz, representing respect. When you take those 10 individuals, you take that quote, those are words to live by in our communities, in our homes, in our culture, because we have to fully embrace each other. We have all this tearing each other down. Now is the time, if no other time showed us before this, we are stuck at home. We are enforcing real life change in our families. We are breaking boundaries. We are going against we are building generational wealth. Now is the time to build that generational wealth within ourselves. For such a time as this, many are called, but few are chosen. So, where do we go from here? We go, if anything, mind you, I've been loving this conversation anyway. But where do we go from here? We go within. We reach deep in, and we say, okay, what am I willing to sacrifice? If nothing else in the past has taught us that there have been people in place willing to sacrifice themselves if necessary in order to propel our people forward. So why aren't we doing the same? And that's what I got exactly when you were saying, if somebody's saying, if someone says somebody that I know family, they're going to have to keep, I get what you mean by that, because at what point do we say, you know what? First of all, just the latest justice denied. I learned that. I know that. Period. Ain't no way around it. So at the end of the day, look at what's happening. People, wake up.
We can't even begin to try and put this thing in perspective, communally. We talked about this yesterday. That I encourage everybody. There are 3 must reads that I feel. For the African Americans specifically, but our sister Angela Davis has a book called Race, Class, and Women.
What's it called again?
Race, Class, and Women.
Okay.
And it talks about the traumas that we've all endured during slavery, during post-slavery. Black people and white people have two very different sets of trauma, although both sets of people have trauma. We need to, in the Black community, we can only heal the Black community. In their community, they can only heal their community. It is not until then that we can come together as a collective and say, how can we heal our relationship? Because our relationship is so tattered. And I can't even say our relationship is fragile. Our relationship is broken with this America that we live in. So anyway, race, class, and women. There's also a book called The Four Agreements. And then lastly, there's a book called The Checklist Manifesto. And that's more so about getting organized. The Four Agreements is about coming to these agreements with yourself about not taking things personally, you know, always doing your best. And there are four of them, etc. But we have to understand, it's called Sankofi, right? Like you have to know where you're going. You have to know where you came from.
Right.
I'm not talking about reaching back into our bloodline, into our roots. I'm talking about reaching back into our reality that is Black people in America. And you have to know where you came from, and sacrifice is important. But, you know, I'm going to be amongst the first. I'm sure I'm not the first to say, I'm not willing to sacrifice my kids. I'm not willing to sacrifice my loved ones. I'm not willing to sacrifice my community. I'm willing to sacrifice. The only thing I'm willing to sacrifice is you. And I ain't talking about you specifically.
No, right.
There are things that we have to sacrifice in terms of financial, in terms of, you know, things that are not as tangible, right? Like money is tangible, but it ain't even real, and we know that. But like, I'm not willing to sacrifice another life. I'm not willing to have another I can't breathe in 3 years. I'm not willing to sacrifice any of that. The only thing I'm willing to sacrifice really at this point is those who sacrifice us. And
that's it.
I'm not a violent person. You know, I'm a Black
but don't
woman.
take me there.
I'm not a killer. Pac said, I ain't a killer, but don't push me.
Don't take me there, right? Because I don't know what's going to happen.
How do you back someone into a corner? Our sister, auntie, doctor, reverend, niece, cousin, girlfriend, Maya Angelou said that there is nothing within one human being that's not in the other. Whatever you have the capacity to do, I too have the capacity to do. I've just not called on it. So all of that hatred and violence that exists within this nation, we have it in us. We've chosen not to use it.
Because we know what's going to happen.
Look at my face when I tell you we are not pacifists. We are not our great grandparents.
No.
We are not even our parents.
No.
And quite frankly, I am afraid for whoever thinks that they can go up against this today, because we are not our parents, but we have our parents in us. We are not our great-grandparents, but we have our great-grandparents in us. We are not our grandparents, but they're in us. Everything that has been built for the African-American is still here, and there's some been added. It's called scaffolding, right? Like, in order for you to learn how to read, you first must know your numbers or your letters. And in order for you to read, you got to know your letters. Then you got to know compound sounds. Then you got to learn phonics. Then you have to learn words. Then you have to learn comprehension, right? We've done all the fundamentals. We're in the comprehension phase now.
Right. And you see what's going on. You see what they went through.
We understand.
You see what they did this. Now it's our time. Because that's the sad part. The sad. I mean, and that's probably really where this all comes from. The journey you and I speak of today is our grandparents' story. It don't even go. I don't have to go to my great grandparents. I don't have to go to. I don't even know them. They know theirs. They know their legacy. They know their business. They know their corporation. That's who was it? There was a. Right. So I'm glad I remember this. So there was a comedian who, and it was on Netflix. I don't know the name, but all I know is Kevin Hart and Tiffany Haddish are in it. And the comedian, it's a Caucasian comedian, and she wants to go. I know that the gist of the story was that she was going. She's an ally. She is showing herself as an ally, trying to help. Now, I'm not saying anything wrong with allies. I'm not saying that, thank you very much for understanding, but I don't need you to understand. We know our struggle. We know there are things that schools aren't teaching us yet, and still you're the ones who built the education system. Mm-hmm. There are issues, there are things in place that we don't agree with, and it's not, and we have to fit into the status quo just to get by. But what Tiffany Haddish said it, and I loved it. So what the question was, why can't we move together as a people? Why can't we move together as a nation? And, why can't there be there was the perfect picture of painted togetherness and, but Tiffany said it best. She said, the problem is that where you come from. I still have to figure that out for myself because you robbed me of it. We
cannot figure it out.
We can't. There's no way. We can't. I don't know what. My grandfather was born in the 30s in a segregated Perry, Florida. The schoolhouse was burnt down. He had to drop out of college because he couldn't afford the $50 tuition. And now we're talking about 2020 when the average textbook is more than $50. Mm-hmm. That systematic approach to always keeping our people down. Yeah. This is like this is real. So we know our grandparents struggle. We know our grandparents in slavery, and then it just so happens that, here we are, you and I living in North New Jersey. Yeah. So we know the struggle of our parents living through the riots and what came after. So it's up to us to do what we need to do. We are equipped for this. We're built for this. So
for it, they know we built for it. That's why they stole
it. And that's the problem. There were issues that weren't talked about that we're talking about.
Like these people could not look at this group of African, strong, smart, resilient people and admire us for who we were. They wanted to possess us for what they could use us for. And do you
for
think
their benefit?
Second, let me tell you something. A domesticated wolf is a dog, right?
Okay.
And a dog will still bite your face off.
Oh yeah, there's natural instincts that come into play.
And a dog ain't never met a wolf in his life.
Right.
We don't need I respect the journey of wanting to know where we come from. We all want to know where we come from.
Right.
But I was about to use some choice language. I can't because my mom got here a little while ago. Do that ish on your own time. Right now, we're in the middle of something.
Right.
We in the thick of something right now.
And we need everybody's undivided attention.
So here's my advice. Read and learn.
Yes.
Listen and learn. Get qualified. Get strapped. Get ready. If you never need ready, so what?
What?
You ain't ready and you need ready? Oh, you in trouble. You in trouble. Get smart. Get smart. Get ready.
Better to need it and not have it than rather that have it and not need it than need it and not have it.
Let me tell you something. If you have it, you need it. And if you don't need it today, you eventually going to need it. You never know when you're going to need something until you need it. Nobody in their mind said 20 years ago, how old was I 20 years ago? 14.
I was 6.
14 I was 20 years ago, and never once did I wake up and say, I'm going to need some weapons.
But now I know.
Never. Not as a 14-year-old, not as a 6-year-old. You never woke up in your early life saying, I'm going to need some weapons. You know who did, though? This America.
Heck yeah, they teach them how to hunt in the woods.
You know what? They did right.
They sure enough did.
You know why they did right? Because they knew they was going to need it, because they knew they couldn't keep us quiet for long enough. Look, the niggas is docile right now. Mm-hmm. But sweetheart is what they telling they children. They not going to be forever. So I got to get you ready for when they wake up. Nigga here now.
Woo.
I feel sorry for whoever thinks that they can circumvent us. I feel sorry for anybody who thinks that they can underplay, undervalue, underrate us.
Mm-hmm.
I feel sorry for anyone who thinks that they will ever get the victory over us.
Mm.
I feel sorry for anybody who thinks that they're stronger, smarter, braver, faster than us.
Mm-hmm.
I feel sorry for anybody who ever in a million years thought that it wasn't us over them. And for all of those people, don't be company. Don't be company. I'm telling you, I ain't gonna say nothing else about it, but don't be company. Don't be company. And you know what? You know what? I ain't finished done. I'm not.
Go ahead. I'm listening.
You know what? People who think that they've gotten the victory in this phase are people who don't even know what victory is. And when I say don't be company, I mean don't be company. And the only way you become company is if you're stupid. Don't be stupid. Now, I told my brother this. I said, even from a business standpoint, right? We have I live in a Black community. I lived in this Black community my whole life, except for the 8 years I was matriculating with the Caucasians, right? So,
right.
I am very much a product of this environment. You know, people always say, don't be a product of the environment as if it's a bad thing. I'm a product of this environment. This one. This very environment that they call savage and uncivilized. I'm a product of this environment, right? So, I am from the home of the bodega. We call it the corner store. I am the home of the Chinese store. We call it Poppy Spot, Jamaican spot. And how many of those people who done got rich off of our community do you see standing in the front line with us? How many of them? When the last time you saw an Asian at a protest, a rally, in support of equality, in support of Black lives?
Right.
When the last time, and I told you before, I grew up on the north, I went to high school on the north side of Newark.
Right.
When the last time you seen a gang of Hispanics saying, now wait a minute, now these are brothers and sisters? But they could just use the N-word willy-nilly because I'm Puerto Rican. I'm Dominican. I can say niggas. Right. But you can't defend and support the niggas when it come time. The niggas who made you rich.
Right.
The niggas who supported you. The niggas who backs you were on to get to this country, because everybody benefited from civil rights except the Black, except the Negro, except the niggas, except the colors. Right? And so all of these people who we made rich, who still right now today got businesses that are thriving in our communities, where was the outcry of support from them? Right? So I say all that to say, Black folk are a smart people and we move accordingly. I ain't saying we need to start, because we move accordingly. We are smart people and we act like it. And we've always given people the benefit of the doubt. But they Hispanic, but they Asians, but they Indians. Let me tell you something. I'm with who's with me. And this America has proven that who's with me are those who look like me. Yeah, you know, some white ladies at a protest, and, you know, they were a police officer calling them short, and it was kind of funny. But that level of privilege is not one that I would ever resonate with. Because if I was standing in front of a white officer berating him and cursing at him and yelling at him and telling him that he can't perform in the bedroom because he's so small and so short, pretty sure I would be attacked. Brutally attacked, if not fatally attacked. So don't be company and don't be stupid. And by don't be stupid, I mean you jeopardizing your business not standing up for the Negro. Everybody know we spend more money than anybody else. So even if wholeheartedly you wish us all dead, it probably would work to your benefit and to the benefit of your family and your communities to probably not say that. And to act like you at least want equality for the people who made you rich, for the people who bought your house, for the people whose money you took out of their community and put into yours. I have an MBA. you talked earlier about going to school for business and it just wasn't for you. I have a master's in business administration. And so I do have a master's in business, and you don't need a master in business to find out that if your clientele is gone, if your clientele don't have no money, if your clientele is not doing well, then neither will you. So it's in the best interest of your business to act like you care about Black lives, even if you don't.
Because we will be at, but this is where it's at. If you're gonna thrive in a Black community, the issues of the Black community need to be at the forefront of your minds. So while yes,
your gates.
You know, and don't get me wrong, you know, I know, you know, I means on Chancellor Avenue. I love, you know, I don't have a problem with any.
They the only halal, no, one of the two only halal Chinese stores in North. So my family been supporting Amin's and Aisha's, and back when Amin's was on Washington Street, we've been supporting these people for years. Ask me if they'll ever get another dollar of my money.
Because that's the problem I have. Let me tell you what they do.
Pinterest and learn how to make some egg foo young, baby.
Did you so during this I saw it yesterday, it was gone, but I kid you not, this is literally what I means look like. You know, you walk through the door and then you walk over to the counter, right? They had a wall. Yeah, you had the little window on the top, you had the drop box on the bottom, you got to push the button to talk to them. They drop the food.
all of the others, all of the other colors, all of the other people of color who have businesses in our communities, the Chinese has been the most flagrant because they always have that protective bulletproof shield and bulletproof glass. Yeah. The Chinese people and the old school cab drivers, I don't know who was more disrespectful to us that we supported rich.
Right. And now we got Uber drivers, and who the first one that complain about the Uber drivers? The taxis.
The taxi drivers. And I've been saying for years, I used to drive Uber. I've been saying for years, you think I care once? You think I give one iota about a cab driver who's complaining that Uber done put them out of business? And I'm supposed to care because all of the cab drivers where I'm from was Black. I mean, they had international or like classic, but that wasn't on my side of North. That was on the North side. But I'm supposed to care that Uber is putting taxi cab drivers out of business when they've been exploiting us since the 90s. Me and my best friend got put out of a cab on Freeway Drive in East Orange, coming from South Walnut Street, going to 5th Street. We got put out of a cab on Freeway Drive. I had to be 13, maybe she was 12 or 11. And he put us out the cab on Freeway Drive. Do you know why he put us out his cab? A Black man, an African man, I should be more specific.
Right.
He put us out his cab because we did not pay first.
I thought that. I was thinking that.
I'm supposed to pay you for services not rendered.
I went to, what did I do? I went to, oh my goodness, that's truth. That is real truth. I got one better for you. My aunt came to town. We got a cab. I think she took the bus in. She took the Greyhound to Penn Station. I met her at Penn. I took the bus down to Penn Station to pick her up and everything. We get in the cab. So you know how to get to Lyons Avenue from downtown. You're gonna hop on the 21. I kid you not. We got up. We got in the cab. He told us how much it was going to be, but he still put the meter on.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's say he told us that it was going to be $15. He told us it was going to be $15, and then by the time we had got up off of 78 to make that left turn onto Lines, he had let's say if he said it was going to be 15, let's say that the meter read $16 and some change. I was like, well, can you turn that off because you told us the price already. You still got as quick as he made that left turn onto Lyons Avenue, is as quick as he made the left turn back onto 78 and took us back to Penn Station. Took us all the way back to Penn Station and then put us out. All because I questioned what you told me it was going to be this price. So
the nerve. They've been ripping us off for years, baby. Cab drivers, Chinese stores, bodegas, corner stores, poppy spots, Jamaican spots. I mean, you go into the Jamaican restaurant and you paying $15 for some subpar oxtails and rice. You make that at your crib. That's what I mean when I talk about self-sufficient. Mm-hmm. You know, of course, we live in a melting pot. We want to experience other cultures. We want to be able to partake in the things that we like. We want to be able to eat what we want. when you talk about sacrifice, it don't nothing get me going more than, you know, maybe some broccoli and white rice from the Chinese store. Their white rice be different. I don't know why, but they just make it different. But look, my mouth watered and everything. But when I tell you, first of all, I bought a rice cooker. My mama bought me a rice cooker years ago. It broke. I just bought me a rice cooker. I'm gonna figure it out. You understand? I'm going to figure out how to make that rice. And if I don't figure out how to make that rice, I'm going to come close, and that's going to be enough for me, because we can't keep supporting and pouring our resources into people that don't support us. And like, I'm all about, you know, I'm Black,
right?
And I'm a woman, and I'm a daughter, and I'm a sister, and I'm an aunt, and I'm now a parent, and I'm a business owner. But don't none of those things trump me being Black
at all. Because that's the person you know.
You may not know that I'm a business owner. I may walk into the room. You may not know that I'm a mom or a daughter or a sister or auntie, but you will know I'm Black right away. or at least most people will know I'm Black right away. But like, we have to stop pouring resources into something or someone or a people who are not pouring into us. And I support small business to the death of me, because I pray that people are going to support my small business. Omi's at 17 Academy Street, New Jersey. Feel free to stop by. We will be reopening soon. But I'm not willing to sacrifice my Blackness over my business ownership.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm here to support any business that's an upright business. I'm going to support them. People who have the right ethics and the right code of conduct, I'm going to support them. I don't have to agree with everything you say, but you also don't have to hope for the extermination of my kind, or sit idly by while we are exterminated. And so to those businesses, and it's not just the Chinese store.
No, it's definitely not.
It's not just the island spot. It's not just the Poppy spot. It's not just the Popeyes, and it's not just the Target. I'm saying that if I have to lead the brigade of people who are no longer going to be exploited by people who do not protect us, then we will do that. And I'm not jaded enough to think, that I'm going to call up or put a post on my Instagram or Facebook and call up some of my friends and send out some text messages and say we no longer supporting this type of business or this type of establishment. I don't think it works like that. But I do think that if we individually said one at a time, we getting all of these places out of our city.
See, that's what we see.
That's the time. I don't drink. Anybody who knows me knows that. I'm not saying that you have to be a non-drinker to support a school where on 2 or 3 buildings down there's a liquor store, right?
There's a liquor store on every block.
And I'm not telling you to stop drinking. I'm telling you to go to a different liquor store so we can get this one out of here, right? So we have to be calculated in our move. We have to be respectful to the culture and respectful of the businesses. We do live in a melting pot. This is a big city, and we are a very diverse place, and it is an awesome place to be. However, you don't got the right to exploit us.
Right.
You don't have the right. You weren't born with the God-given right to say, let me take them the black dollars. Let me go ahead and have that community. Let me go ahead and turn the other cheek. Let me board up my business and close down for a couple of weeks while these people are inciting riots, right? Like, you don't have that luxury if you want our support. You want our support, you want our aesthetic, you want our look, you want our business, you want our generosity, you want our kindness, but you don't want our living? That just don't even make zero amount of sense to me. And I wish we had one of them up here to converse with, because I would sure love to know what the hell they be thinking. I ain't no finger snapping, neck rolling kind of girl, although I could be if I felt like being her, right? But I really am very interested to know, like, what is the rationale, the reason, and the logic? I need to know. So if someone is watching this who has a recommendation of somebody who ain't afraid to have a conversation with a couple black kids from North, then you make the recommendation and we'll have the conversation. We'll have a respectful conversation and we'll have a real conversation. But I really need to know what's y'all deal.
Right.
It can't be that y'all think we all bad.
Because come on, because if it was, you wouldn't be with us from the beginning because you never know what could happen.
It can't be that. I'm telling you, I know a lot of people in our age bracket, and I'm going to go out on a limb and say that I'm amongst the blackest of the blacks, and I don't mean complexion-wise. And even I don't think that all white people are evil. I'll stick by that. I ain't got time to decipher which one of them is evil and who's not. So do white people feel that way? But they can't feel that way because we're not the people with a history of violence and oppression. They can't feel that way. If a black officer walked up to a white person's car, those white people ain't thinking, oh my God, I might get killed today. They thinking, God damn, why did you pull me over? Right? And they immediately start with their privilege. They immediately lead with, do you know who I am? You remember that video of the lady who was, she was dignitary somewhere in New York. I can't remember what her title was, but she got pulled over and she immediately, her kid got pulled over for speeding and they actually speeding. The kid got pulled over, called up the mom. The mom pulls up, bad out of hell. She's like, do you know who I am? I'll have your badge. I know the chief of police and I know the commissioner and this is my kid and they have the right, and went off and didn't have no details. So I'm sure white people don't get pulled over by black officers thinking, damn, I might lose my life today. They be thinking to themselves, I'm about to let a mother have it today. When we get pulled over, we thinking, damn, am I making it home tonight? So it can't be that they think we all violent criminals because they know that's not true.
Right.
We don't think y'all are all violent criminals. We just think for those of them who are not violent criminals, they don't stand up enough.
Well, see, the problem is that this is the issue. The real issue is, and that's something. It's funny. I thought you good, but you said, "Oh my goodness, I am against crime. Period. Black on black, white on white, black on white, white on black. I'm against it. Period. That's okay." But in our communities, what I see on the media is not the reality of the community that's being depicted. So my issue is, okay, granted, yes, we have seen the, yes, we saw the video of the not so peaceful protest, the rioters. We saw the video of the rioters. You're from Newark. I'm from Newark. We hear about a peaceful protest. And then you find out that people from the outside came into our city and disrupted the peaceful, and tried to disrupt the peaceful protest. I saw a man with a steel bat almost break the window of a Dunkin' Donuts. Would you say that honestly speaking, would you say that the issue is more so, like you said before, because you did mention it, it's about community and what's happening within our communities? Is it because they don't live in our communities? Is it because they don't, they're not educating their children in our communities, so they don't know our struggle, so it's not their job to care?
No, I don't think anybody with a sound mind, heart, or brain would say it's not your job to care. When we're talking about lives, it's all of our jobs to care about everybody. When those children got massacred down in Sandy Hook, Black people was outraged all over the world, and those were not Black children. When those kids got shot up down in Georgia Tech, I was in college when that happened, and we were outraged, and those were not people of color. When a lot of people got killed down in Florida, when those people got killed, we are just a people of compassion, so we never needed people to be Black to care about them.
Right.
You don't even necessarily got to care about you per se to care about your life. But here's what the problem is. I read an article. It was about compassionate leadership. I read this article years ago when I first came into my role as a leader within an organization that shall remain nameless. Right. But I read an article, and the article said, and it was specifically talking about leadership,
Mm-hmm.
but it applies so very much to relations as far as race goes. And it was saying that people don't protect what they don't see as valuable. That is the problem. They don't see us as valuable.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If something is valuable, then it is worth protecting. If something is valuable, then it's worth standing up for. If something is valuable, then it's worth laying your life down for, even. But if you don't see it as valuable, you won't protect, you won't defend.
Right.
And this is where we are. So it's not their business to care about us. They don't hold us as valuable because to them, we still 3/4 of a person.
Mm. Here we go.
So, in some circles, I used to work with a lady. She's Jewish and white. It took me a long time to understand the difference between those two. But
is this so? You is that to say that there is a difference?
There is.
Okay.
And I learned it through a lot of dialogue with people who are Jewish and who so happen to also be white. But she's Jewish and white, and she married an African man. They have 3 children.
Okay.
So she very much presents as a white woman. He very much presents as a man, and their children very much presents as black kids, like they look like African American kids.
Okay.
And she's from the suburb of another state that I won't say.
Right. Yeah.
But she, and not in these words, these words.
Hey, go ahead.
If ever, I'll tell people till the cows come home, I know white people and I do not have white friends. And I can't call a lot of them friends because they don't, not that they don't see me as valuable, but I'm not valuable enough to relinquish some of their white privilege for. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm,
But if I'm close to being friends with a white woman, it will be her. I was close. But she, in a lot of honest conversations that she and I had, has said she never fully, and she worked with low-income communities all of her career.
Right.
She never understood until her son got profiled.
Right.
How much the black man, the black woman, and the black child was under attack in this country. And not only did she say she never really noticed how bad it was, she knew it was bad, but she didn't know how bad it was until she had brown children of her own. But he was honest enough to say, I don't even know what I'm going to do about that as his mother. So I can't imagine having to put my life on the line for people who are not my children because I don't even know how to do that for my children.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not a crazy person. I'm not a radical, and I'm not unreasonable or irrational in thinking that there are some white people who just don't know what to do and support. And so then you have, like that rally that Dave went to last night, you have 45 Caucasian women, sitting around talking about the plight of the Negro. We know what our plight is, and we know how you've contributed to it.
Right.
Don't tell us how we need to fix us. Tell us how you plan to fix your people. We don't need white people fixing us. They the people who broke us. That don't even make sense to me. But tell us how you're going to fix yourself so that we don't continue to have this testicular relationship with.
And that's something that we were talking about. Exactly. When you start talking about having, is one thing to have a conversation, is one thing to demonstrate, is one thing to protest, is one thing to march. But what we need to have happen is legislation needs to be passed. That's what the importance and see, that's something that everybody, and that's something I've felt so strongly about for a while now. I understand the importance of voting. I understand to some degree on how the electoral college works. But when it comes to, I said to a point, but when it comes to when it comes to these far-fetched ideas and what it means to be Black in America and the issues that we have, and we're talking about redlining, we're talking about the democracy, we're talking about Republicans versus Democrats. No, we're talking about businesses versus individuals, and how we all collaborate and join in on this. As a human race, we're not progressing together. There's always levels to the ish. So my thing is, it's like, wow, I understand that voting matters, but that needs to be broken down. You vote for these people. You put these people in place to vote for you. Now, here's the time for us who voted for these people to truly call them on their bluff. You wanted the job. You wanted to. We need change. We need to progress as a people. Now, obviously, Blacks will progress differently from their Caucasian counterparts. Yes, males, but children still have a lot to learn. We need to rethink the education. Like, that's what I like. I mean, not what I like about COVID, but that's what I find interesting about COVID. It forces us to start these conversations. But not only that, it forces politicians to stand up. I shout out Cory Booker and Donald Payne Jr. for coming together and figuring out how, the stimulus packages were going to work for African Americans who they represent. Cory Booker and I have shaken hands before. Donald Payne Jr. and I have come together. That was one of the things. One of the buildings for Donald Payne Sr. on, when Clinton and Bergen was protected. Nah, you ain't having no vandalism over here. I see what y'all trying to do, but that's not what's going to happen here in Newark. I see these different things, but right now, it seems like, after the conversation is had, it's nice that people want to join the conversation and really get light a fire under our politicians and our senators and our legislators. But now is the time for us to really, okay, you needed my vote to get there. I need you to do something for me now. You got my vote. Now give me some work. We need work.
It's not that I need you to do something for me now. It's I hired you.
Right. You work for me.
You work for me. You don't work for white New Jersey. You work for black, white, orange, green, purple, dead, alive, gay, straight. You work for the state. You work for the country. Whatever your status is as a politician, I think just to go a step further, I do believe that we need to get more involved in the political process. And I'm also like, mad shouts to black people, mad shouts to young people, mad shouts to everybody over these last 10 years, the last 15 years who've gotten very involved in this political process. The Obama 08 election was the first time that I seen in droves, coming out to vote, coming out for registration, Obama 012 election, like it is the time, it was a pivotal time for black people in our relationship with politics, and it proved to be beneficial to us. But I'm going to go a step further and say, yes, we need to get more involved in how we hold our government accountable to us.
Yes.
But to go further, we need to get involved on how to become the government that we hold accountable, because
it's always been about the people. It's time for the people to stand up and realize it.
We have to get into the arena.
Yes.
I don't necessarily want people who don't have my best interests at heart, at mind, making decisions on my behalf. And in order for me to do away with that, in order for us to get away from not trusting our politicians, we have to become our politicians. That's why Mayor Ras Baraka has been so pivotal in what this city is shaping up to be, because he is a politician, but he is a black man, a black male Norker first. So he's not someone who was, who came here and was like, oh, this looked like a great place to land. Like his parents and grandparents were a part of the fabric of this city. So he has an obligation because, yes, we hired him, but he also has an obligation because he's a black man. And those two together really allows us to go outside of the obligation that he has for us, but it goes further than that into a level of trust that we have. And we need more of those. Before Mayor Roscoe, before we all got elected, because remember he was like, if I'm the mayor, we all the mayor, right? We loved that shit when it was out. True though. Before we got there, we were, he was considered a radical. the Democratic Party, you know, they didn't much want nothing to do with him and his idea of like, when I'm mayor, we're mayor. We run our city. They was like, no, that ain't how it go. And
But
so
that's
we
why
need
it should go.
that. We need more of that. And I was telling my mom, and I want to say my uncle was here, but I was telling my mom and us that, we need more people like that moving through the ranks.
Mm-hmm.
You may like our mayor, you may not like our mayor, but you know our mayor. You may not like the decisions he makes, but you know the decisions that he makes. You know that this is a very much a transparent government, and he's undoing years, decades, centennials of distrust and disloyalty between politicians and constituents.
Right.
And so we need people like that moving up. When we talk about the Democratic Party here, Essex County, we know that it's still very much led by Joe DiVincenzo and all of the white male figures who essentially shape what politics look like in our county, in our state, and in our local governments, right? We need to start thinking bigger. I ain't saying arguably, we have the best mayor in these here United States, but ours needs a longer reach. You know what I'm saying? And he
okay, I agree with that.
To be able to level up so that we can level up.
I agree with that, and I understand that, and I definitely say that. However, one thing I will say is this. So what I noticed is, first of all, he's not done here yet.
No.
Once we get situated here, because that's one thing I don't like. You get something done and then you level up and you get to that's what I see. Even organizations I've worked with in the past and worked for in the past, people see you doing a good job and it's like, yes, you're doing a good job, RJ. Here you go. And that doesn't really work. Because then what ends up happening is, if you don't have that structure in place that's doing what it needs to do when you are gone, once you leave, once you're not there, the system collapses. So right now, with all the developments that we see, I love how we are getting people in place, and he's putting people in place that are actually doing the job. I don't care about his history, because truth be told, about their history and their backgrounds, because they come from Newark and they're trying to do something.
They got the same backgrounds that we have.
Period. Like, they're working for the people. Hey,
right.
What better way to say, when I'm the mayor, we're the mayor, than actually making us the mayor? Us making the decisions and the policies and the protocols and procedures that's going to happen to bring us forward. So I say, you know what? I love what he's doing. I want him to continue what he's doing, but I will also say this. As he brings us to the next level and as he moves Newark forward, I truly hope and pray that, if not this conversations before this one, or even the conversations after us, people actually start standing up and joining forces with people who are doing, like you said, what he's doing for our people, to move our people forward. Not about me moving forward. That's something that I spell community, COMM, capital U, capital N, lowercase I, capital T, capital Y, because it ain't about me. It's about us. There needs to be unity, So, UNITY, that's what we need.
Let them know. No, I get what you're saying. Like, he's definitely not done here in Newark, but there's a such thing. And, if you've worked for organizations, and there's some people who have not, there's a such thing called succession planning, right? It means that you are this, whatever phase of leadership you have. However, there are people who work with you who may be on a hierarchy chart, lower on the hierarchy than you, but you're training them up to be the person or the level that you are, so that you can go on to the next one. And when we talk about self-sufficiency, when we talk about learning and teaching, that's what I mean. Yeah, our mayor needs a broader reach, because he has the ability to reach people in a way that people before him have not.
Right.
So when I say he needs a longer reach, he needs a broader reach, I mean his succession planning has to be on point too. I'm not, we've had mayors, come and go, and some mayors gone on to do you know, things that are higher on the hierarchy chart, but
Mm-hmm.
they very much have unfinished business.
Right.
And you make the call for what's best for you.
Right.
However, when we talk about planning, it's like in a family structure, right? You have a parent or two parents,
Yes.
and you may have two working parents. And
Right.
so the oldest sibling may be in charge of making dinner on nights that one of the parents work or both of the parents work, right? And then,
Mm-hmm.
maybe a younger sibling is in charge of, looking after this or doing that. I have a brother, Dave. Dave is
Mm-hmm.
4 years younger than me. And it was my responsibility that after school, he walked home with me and my sister and my friends, and we all got home, right?
Mm-hmm.
My oldest sister, she's like 7 or 8 years older than me, I think. It was her responsibility that if my mother was at work, she had to be the person to make sure we got dinner, right? And so succession planning works in a family flawlessly. And you know why? Because we are obligated to. It's not.
Period.
It's not
That's
a.
right.
And so when we start to get outside of our own families and into a more community setting,
Mm-hmm.
things become optional. And I think for us, for Black people and people of color, because those are very different things, and I made that clear already, but I just needed to restate it for the record.
For the record.
For Black people and people of color, we we tend to get a little freedom or a little headway or a little bit of space, and then we throw the baby out with the bathwater. Right. So we need to use those family principles and what makes us strong as a family, and then use those same principles, ideals, and ideas that make us strong as a community. Essentially, what I'm saying is that we all level up. Like if you're at the bottom, you go to the middle and then you go to the top. Once you're done with being at the top, the person in the middle goes to the top, and then you go to the bottom of another learning experience. And that way, once you're in the middle, you can bring the person in the top behind you. And it's very much this idea of each one teach one. And we've been doing that for years. We got a lot of each one teach one moments. We have a lot of word of mouth and singing and storytelling is how we relate through our history. So this is not different. We just got to get back to our roots. We have to get back to our what makes us us and what makes us very unique, that we
Right.
have always been contributors, voluntary or involuntarily, we've been contributors. So we just need to get back to, what we know to be effective. And unfortunately, we're in a stage right now where there's certain things that's not going to be tolerated. And however that comes across is how it comes across. We're not here to make you comfortable.
I'm not. No. I was told. Matter of fact, I was told to get out of my comfort zone. So why should you be still in your? Wow.
That part.
That's it.
Here's what my contribution is, and I'll sum it up.
Mm-hmm.
Get smart. So do your learning, whether that's through reading, whether that's through experience. Do your learning. This is me to Black people. Do your learning. You read, get smart, get ready, be prepared, don't back down. And to white people, my advice is heal yourself, your family, and your community. We will do the same. When and if that happens, we'd be more than willing to reconvene and talk about what the next steps are. And in the meantime, we ain't to be played with. Your violence will be tolerated. Your violence, your evil will not be tolerated. It will be matched. And that is a promise.
Not a threat.
And if it's not me, somebody else. Don't be company, white people.
You have definitely given us all something to think about, to really give ourselves I hope that someone watches this and it truly becomes their conversation starter. We've covered a lot of topics today. I think that there's a lot to be learned. There's a lot to still learn, and there's a lot to do. That's most important. There is a lot to do. Definitely, you definitely gave us a roadmap. So question for you. No, go ahead.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say, it's okay to walk into a space. As a Black woman, I walk into spaces all the time and say, here's what I can teach y'all. In fact, I give unsolicited advice all the time.
Right.
It's sometimes okay to just say, here's what I have to contribute. Sometimes everything ain't a long drawn out conversation. Sometimes it's just, here's what I can offer.
Here's what I can do.
Take it.
Right.
Believe it.
That's exactly how, I'm not gonna force anybody. I'm not trying, that's something that we just, we try to work with people. We try to, we're trying to lift each other up. And unfortunately, there are times where our works go, by the wayside. However, there's just a few times, and we hope, and we wish, we need there to be more of them, where we are able to say, like, here we go, boom. Here's a network. It's called RJ's Place. We're sharing positive messages. We're being motivational. We are giving out, free shout out. We're shouting out local businesses who are open. Here we go. Here's a way to do it. Either you're going to be a part of the conversation or you're not. So as we work together, as we come together and, move forward, I look forward to a day where we can all sit at the table together and see, you bring new words to I have a dream speech, So I definitely, I thank you. I definitely thank you for taking the time to sit down and honestly teach a few things. I don't learn a few things.
Yeah.
But
thank you for having me. And your platform is amazing, and I think the more people who takes advantage of these types of conversations are more people who are going to be brave enough to step forward and be contributors and say, this is what I have. It's not everything that we need, but it's something that we need, and all we need is a little bit from everyone, and we're going to move this thing around. And to Black people, remember that our presence is a gift.
Our presence is a gift.
And we do not have to give gifts to everyone who asks for them.
We're precious jewels. We're gems. We're diamonds in the rough. They had to find us. They had to really find. Okay. Seriously, they had to find us. They had to find us. They had to dig me up. They had to take me from where. And that's what. Oh my. That's what. And that's the way to close. We had to. They had to take us. They had to figure out where we were. Take us up. Dig us up. Give us some heat and some pressure. But guess what? We are new art diamonds. We are shining brightly. We are not afraid. We are not going to back down. We are going to get smart. We're going to get ready. We're going to be prepared. And we can't back down. We won't back down.
Yep.
And that's what the whole. So, that this has been a lot to think about, just this process. I'm looking forward to going back and seeing some of the comments and everything, and even welcoming whoever wants to come to the table. Here we are.
Who want what?
Say that again.
Who want what? We with it all. We ready. I said, who want what? We willing to have conversations with whoever want to talk.
Exactly.
But here's what we ain't gonna listen to you and engage no nonsense, no foolery. So you come, you need to be able to articulate thoughts and sentences respectfully, because we do speak several languages. And my connection is in the crapper. So, my dear, I want to thank you again for having me. On here.
Definitely.
And if there's any time that you want me to repeat or three-peat, just say the word, and I'm always here to discuss the state of our union through my perspective and through my lens. So anytime, just call me.
Thank you so much for joining. I'll talk to you later.
Yeah. See you later.
Bye-bye. All right, that's all we have time for today, but I thank you so much for joining us. If you have something you'd like to share, join the conversation online at www.rjsplace.live. That's www.rjsplace.live. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you next time. And now a word from FitSys, the workout for the mind, body, and soul.
Hey everybody, my name is Antone Chambers. I am the creator of FitSys, full mind, body, and soul workout. I'm here to get you right mentally, physically, and spiritually. We have themes every week, so we learn about new topics that are relevant to us in everyday life. We connect it to scripture so that we know God is and always will be in the mix. And we tie it together with a fun dance cardio workout. The thing is about 30 minutes total, taught on Zoom, all virtual. I hope to see you there. You can follow me on Instagram at Jadora_Antone. On Facebook, Antone Chambers, on the website, www.fitsys.life. I teach classes on Wednesday and Thursday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You just hit me up and I'll send you the info. I hope to see you there, and let's get right together.